Alright, one of the themes for this meetup was scaling Scrum, so next talk is also going to be scaling Scrum. Priyank? Alright, round of applause for Priyank Pathak, who's Agile coach at, he will introduce himself.
So you don't know me?
I know you. Priyank, you have 30 minutes from now, so 3:45.
I don't have a watch either.
Alright, I'll remind you.
Guys, my name is Priyank and I'm traveling mostly. And if I'm not traveling, I coach also some teams. That's what I do. So I founded this company called Innovation Roots along with my other colleagues, and now we are into consulting as well, specifically to large scale. That's what we are doing. Mostly our thoughts are aligned with the practices and purposes of SAFe as well as less is in the model if you are aware, dead, etc. Okay, so this is my contact detail if you want to know more about me. So let's talk about scaling agile first. Okay, what is your experience is? Okay, so for next 5 minutes maybe you can just come up with thought processes. Maybe next 2 minutes I just request you to pull out post-its if you have those next to you. If you don't, then ask Maran.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
I'm gonna throw that from here. So just let's talk about what you mean by scaling agile first of all. Okay. What do you mean by scaling agile? What is your definition of scaling agile? Am I clear here? Do you have post-its? Do you need post-its over there? Catch. Sorry. Here you go. Okay? So if you are ready with your thoughts, you can have a conversation with your neighbors, okay? And then we'll talk about it. Do you need a pen?
Yeah, we...
You got 5 minutes and you don't have all the 5 minutes, okay? You have just 2 minutes, right? And the next 3 minutes you are going to talk.
This morning was I think to work for building such a complex product which was not that's how the team size is. So how are you doing? Thank you.
Done? Do we have some keywords to throw? From this side, back side. You got some keywords to throw? Just throw some keywords from your post-its. Scrum of Scrum. Okay. So your experience is about doing Scrum of Scrum. Painful, superb, good, bad, ugly. In which classification you want to put it? Painful. Any other keyword from this side?
Complex.
Complex. What else comes to your mind? This
So
side, back side?
you can be a good musician, but you don't pull together as a rock group or a rock band, which is like saying the same thing that individually you are great as a team, but when you do collectively,
Yeah, so
you don't stick
Deepak's shown something and then I'll tell they practice. But when they perform, that's what we say music, okay?
Correct.
So practice is something which is, in that particular metaphor, is the most important aspect, right? And we do that during our jobs, okay? So, continuous integration, okay, what else?
Being agile with a bigger team.
Being agile with the bigger team, okay?
And
What else?
integrated releases, like since it will be divided into teams, so like the sprint cannot be like just one team's release, which it will
Okay.
be like
Sorry. Yeah,
integrated release.
okay. Any other thoughts from backside? Throw some keywords. What is your experience? Has that been very good, ugly, painful? What you thought when you did some large scale stuff? Have you done it? Maybe, if you have. No experiences. Good. That's best.
Scrum was never meant for that. It was not designed for it. It's more of design in
wow.
retrospect.
I like you. so yeah, it's correct actually. Scrum was not meant for large teams for sure. Yeah. What else? You got some thoughts to share?
We were thinking about like
it may not be from a large scale, but why are you looking Scrum as a large scale? Look at project as a large scale, put it in the smaller chunks, then you apply Scrum to it.
That's very correct actually. So, I mean, most of the time when I go to the customer and I ask the same question, why you want to be scaled with Agile? So they have different perception about this, just like what we have here. Everyone has their own definition with them, right? So some people say that Scrum of Scrum is the solution. Some people think that it's painful as well. And some people think that CI is the solution, continuous integration is the solution. Some people think like, we have large projects, we need some solution for that. And that's how the concepts and ideas emerge. Some people think like, okay, let's put Scrum into the play. So I was asking the same question to someone during the lunch, and then he said like, my one team is doing absolutely, I think to you maybe, he said like one team is doing great, the other team is not doing great. And now I want to implement the same greatness here. And that's what I call scaling, okay? So everyone got their own definition here, right? And I'm been into Agile consulting for quite a while now, and then most of my experiences is at large scale context. When I say large, that is the problem statement. The problem statement is the large. Okay, so when we say we have like more than 20 people, I think that's large. And when the large context come in the picture, there is always overhead of on the system for like management stuff. Like collaboration itself becomes a problem. You cannot have all the people sitting in one room, and that face-to-face stuff and etc. collaboration, all those things doesn't work that same way, right? The way we are being taught. Yeah? Does that make sense? That happens with you as well, right? 20 people sitting in one room trying to do a daily scrum, whatever, or a retrospective, and it finished on time, or maybe in that time box. It doesn't work the same way, right? So you need to find out some ideas, some other ways, and a lot of people experiment as well. They find out a lot of other ideas, and like LESS, for example, is being the foundation from where we pick the word called Scrum of Scrum, Retro of Retro, Area Product Owner, etc. And so do the SAFe is. So SAFe has been introduced as well quite a while ago, and then it's been very successful. And I implemented it in a couple of large contexts. When I say large, the recent most where I'm working is like 7,000 people. Okay, and the pilot itself is of 200-300 people. So in that context, SAFe works. So SAFe is, I'm not advocating SAFe, but I'm saying like some practices work, because what all you are throwing as a keyword, all is there in SAFe. And I believe Anil has given a very good walkthrough already to everyone. So I'm assuming you are all aware about the keywords by now. So I'm just gonna jump into the challenges which I see in SAFe, not that SAFe itself, okay? So SAFe is like something like this, right? 3-tier architecture type of stuff, right? We got teams, we got program, we got portfolio, yeah? You are aware, wonderful. So I'm not gonna cover this particular diagram either. I am sure that you know this, how it works, yeah? But this is the SAFe framework, which is as a solution is proposed for larger context when multiple teams are working, when you have portfolios coming in the picture, and then you have programs coming in the picture, and then you have teams coming in the picture. So if you see that there is a geographical boundary created here, yeah, and that's the key here, okay. So you have this organization existing in all the institutions, in all the enterprises, all the establishments already, but the alignment was a problem. So what I see is as keywords, key challenges here is, let's discuss some of those which I fear and I faced during my course of coaching. When I was coaching to companies like Hewlett Packard, companies like Clifford Chance, Philips for that matter, in large context. The first challenge which I want to talk about is alignment. Do you think that's a challenge? He was throwing some light on like, I don't know what team B is doing. He just said that in the last session, right? And that's a problem. The collaboration is a problem, right? So that's very, very correct that when we talk about alignment, when we talk about what is happening at the top and at the execution level, it's not aligned. You know that certain things are happening over on the top, but you don't know that what is happening at the team level. I'll give you a very simple contextual example here. When you go to an exec, he says that, we are doing something, this is the business case which we are working on. But when you go to the team, they say that we are doing something, which is this feature or this story. So they talk about two different languages, isn't it? They say that we are developing this business case, it would be live, or maybe this module would be live after the end of the year. When you go to the team, they say that, okay, out of that, 20 stories are done. But we don't know what is happening overall. That's the key challenge as well. So here, alignment becomes a problem. When you have such big organizations, those are executing basis on Agile or maybe Scrum, maybe XP, whatever method they pick from there. So SAFe helps us doing that stuff. The foundation of SAFe is based on lean philosophy and also on the value stream mapping. So when Anil was talking about you have portfolio management happening on the top, the key here is we reorg. That's the biggest pain area. So that is challenging. When you go to institutions and you ask them to reorg, you ask them to restructure, it becomes a challenge. Have you experienced the restructuring stuff? Okay, let me reiterate it. You've been to a team and then you said we need a Scrum Master. We need a Scrum Master. It itself is a big statement. I'm talking about something which is massive. You say that we need to restructure everything now. It's a problem. So you need RTE. I will talk about RTE as a role. Yeah? Release train engineering is talked about something as a metaphor. That train, everything is going on time, etc. Features, etc. Yeah? So when you introduce such new roles, it becomes a problem as well. What are your experiences? Back to you. Have you done that? Challenges like that? Yeah, go on.
Basically, it is the legacy mindset that is most challenging for the biggest headache from the executive level.
Yeah.
So whoever is around D or VP level, say the controlling power they don't want to give up.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem.
Yeah. So I'm just, I agree. I'm not denying on that. The challenge is because the governance-driven institutionalization was there for years, right? And we know that the other models very much advocate all that governance stuff. And as the strategic organizations are being formed across the globe, you go to any big company, they have a strategy, how they want to build a new product. And if you ask that CIO or C-suite guy, he says that how he want to go next level. He has that ideology with him. That is the visionary thought process which he is having. But when it comes to the team, they don't get that because they are not exposed to that information. Here, SAFe or maybe alignment, I would say, as an individual practice helps a lot. So what you see here is alignment is, you have themes here, okay? And you define that where we want to invest this year. And then you connect that dot, and that's the concept which I'm trying to talk here is, you connect that dot to the epics, to the features, to the task, and in between you have user stories, which we are very much familiar with. So that's how it works. So what the practices which you need to follow for doing all that is value stream mapping, a massive reorg, I would say. So you align everyone towards a single goal. As he was talking, I don't know about what the team 2 is doing, but if someone will tell me, and that someone has to be defined somewhere, and all that is restructuring, isn't it? So we talk like that level. When we have big picture coming in, we need to align everyone towards common vision and common goals. And when we do that, it's painful. Because everyone has its own interest, they have wishful thinking as well. Power losses also happens, right? Because some people, as you said, so I am the governor of this institution now or something like that. And then they lose that power because the vision is changing of the org. And then it creates a lot of chaos as well. So my experience says that, this is just like experience sharing. Maybe you might face different challenges on the floor. When we go to the institution, until they have very clear strategy, which is connected to the execution part, it doesn't work that way. Some of the product company where I did the assessment, they do the inception of thousands of business cases. Okay, when I said 1,000, they don't go live with those thousands. They go live with hardly 20 or 15 out of that. So in January, they do 1,000 of the business case inception, but when it comes live, they're hardly going live with 20. I don't know what your experience is.
No, it's exactly the same because so when we make a 3-year roadmap, we start with all bigger things, right? And eventually it boils down to minimum.
Yeah. So
the reality is different than the.
That's always. So if you ask a question to the exec, you ask him what your team is doing, he doesn't have an answer, and that actually creates a bigger kiosk. The trust factor goes away. Because he don't know what is happening over there on the floor, so he calls someone on the floor, says can you tell me what is happening over there? So here, the alignment as an individual practice comes in picture, and it's most of the institutions have the portfolio management when it comes to the larger context. I'm not talking about the 10 people team or 20 people team alone, but when we have strategic projects or products getting built, you always have a strategy behind that, and you connect that dot here, and that dot connection is a challenge. Most of the institution where I assess, they have a nice strategy here, lot of technical jargon on there, saying like, we are gonna do this, we are gonna create a new e-com, and that's gonna address the need of South Asia, etc. And we will build a mobile app. But what is happening on the floor is way different than that, because there is no inspect and adapt happening in between that. So that's called alignment here, okay? So for that, you need to have the vision and goal in place, you need to have the roadmap in place. The most important piece which I just want to talk about is that challenge can be mitigated with kind of value stream mapping stuff, okay? Which is more important here. So you need to map what is your investment to what is execution. Yeah? Make sense? That's one. And I'm not going to take much time, that's what the time is given. How much time I have, Maran? 5 minutes?
15 minutes you have.
I have 15 minutes. So the second biggest problem, yeah, go on.
Sorry. But most of the time you also look in how much is the value which is getting delivered by executing these cases.
Yeah.
So after 2 months or 3 months of planning, then you see that okay, we are not going the right direction, so let's do one thing. Check out everything, find it out, which is actually giving more value and less time into those.
Yeah, so it's real time. But the keyword which you're trying to do is, if you have a nice alignment done, you realize the thing and you do real time work. I'll give you one example what you're talking in my experience. So I was working with a mobile giant in past, and then for them e-commerce was the massive strategic event. They said like, we want all you to do e-commerce now. We want to go live with our e-commerce sailing portal. And then all of a sudden the news came, because that's what happens, right? They got a new thing in the market. They said like, by the end of the 2014, there would be like 50 billion people in India that are using mobile as internet medium. So we need to move on. Forget about the e-com, do this. So you see that when you go live, as soon as you can go live, so you need to understand that the whole cycle time also plays a very big role here. So you need to work on the cycle time aspect as well, which is a very key matrix here. So that while you do the value stream mapping, your key idea behind doing the value stream mapping is to understand what is the overall cycle time, the concept to catch time. Okay, so then you try to reduce this as well. So I'm not saying that there are other challenges which I am ignorant about. There are many. The massive challenge is we don't have a connection of strategy versus execution. So they sometimes create a contract as well. They say that I'm going to give you 5,000 billion or 100 billion or 20 million, whatever, and then you develop that project as a project. So they disconnect that, they fix the cost here. They say that this is the budget we are going to align with this particular initiative. You drive that initiative. But there is no inspect and adapt in that context. So here you need to connect the dot. Maybe you might save some money and which you can use somewhere else, or maybe you need more money to go live. And that's the key here. So like, as I said, like, so in the product industry, most of the institutions which are developing product, when we say product, not the product which we call product, okay? They have physical product coming out. They develop consoles now. So what they say console is like a base. So when they develop some piece of new initiative, or say let's say new laptop or new device or whatever, they create a console. They say that this is the minimum on which we need to build on top of it, which is reusable. So they create all that, and that is handy. So they can do the right strategy thing over on the top, and then they give the budget which is minimal, and then they inspect and adapt. Instead of having 1,000 initiatives, and then learning at very end of the year that hardly 50 can go live now. They said like first quarter let's invest into creating a right console and then do the initiative. So hardware versus software, inspect and adapt is also hardware with software, inspect and adapt is also very important. So console creation is the key in the product industry. Yeah. So that's another challenge though. So what alignment is most popular. You don't see companies knowing what they're doing on the floor. Okay. Any thoughts on this thought? Any comments?
Yeah, I would like to speak. You are very correct, but my question to you is, we have epics, we have things, and another that we have this. So this challenge can be rectified with those hierarchy of them, because they don't know story. Like
yeah. No. So it's all about like how you are realizing your money, which is invested. So return on investment is the concept which I am trying to advocate here. What happens here is you spend, let's say, 5,000 euro, okay, and then you say that we got this epic live. This feature is under that epic, which is, let's say, e-commerce or maybe mobile app or whatever. But when you ask the exec, they don't have that answer like what we have here. So, and vice versa, we don't have that whether we have used that 5,000 euro or not. Financial. So I'll ask you a simple question now. When was the last time it happened that in your project you returned the money back to the institution saying like, we saved this 500. We saved 500 for you. Is that happen?
Well, when it is left out, we generally go for a party.
That's very correct, right? Or maybe in gold polishing, and maybe in some other stuff, right? Is that happened ever in your life that you returned some money back to the institution saying like we saved 5,000 euro or 500 euro, and that's what our saving is, because there is no connecting dot. That's what I'm trying to iterate here. That's a challenge. Institutions doesn't know when there is a financial controller. They give a bucket. They say that 5,000 is your higher bucket, which is actually the range. If you go higher than that, we are not going to give you any more money. We will discard the project, which is another problem, because that project may be making more money for you, but you are not investing in right dimension. And you are actually aligned to other thoughts because you have that fixed budget concept, right? So here it works. When you do the right alignment, which is massive, as I said, it's a big challenge because most of the company don't know how much they are saving every year. That's the key here. They don't know how much we have saved this year. Never the money has been returned to the institution. Okay? Please correct my understanding. Yeah? Is that correct? Or you have returned it? I haven't seen a project doing that. So let's move on. For all what you need to do is for that is, I know that the companies have this hierarchy, pretty much this. And when it comes to the larger audience, like 100 people are working, you need to have big items split into smaller and then they execute all that. But they don't reflect back how much money we have consumed for that. Okay? And they don't return the money either. That's the big problem otherwise. And they don't actually reflect that we need more money. And then we cut short the project because we don't have more money. However, we are investing in the other dimension which is of no use. So we need to reflect back, okay? That's the key challenge here. Second one which I want to talk about is synchronization, okay? As Anil was talking about, you need to have, it looks like crazy that we need everyone to be in same page, on same page doing same stuff, just like a musician metaphor which is given recently, but it doesn't work like that. Okay, you need to have individuality given to the people. But what all we meant here is, the challenge here is you cannot create two teams doing same thing, like replica of each other. Because it is all about group dynamics, it's all about individual skills which are there, but end product can be same, which is the expectation. So you can have that cadence created to expect the end product. That's the metaphor here, okay? It's not that you just create the same size of team and then they all are going to do same job, etc. It's not like that. What all we expect here is they will integrate as frequently as they can. So CI/CD comes in the picture. The challenge here is to create that common cadence and get the acceptance from the people. I'm just working with a team which is spread across, all those things are true, which we see here. Some people are sitting in Texas, some people are sitting in India and Delhi as well, and in Bangalore, and some people are in Europe as well. And that team cannot create a cadence like what we expect. For all that, what you need to do is, it doesn't mean that you need to create a charter that you are doing a planning on day one, they are doing the planning on the day one of the calendar, and so do the others are. It doesn't mean that only, it means more than that. You need to integrate using CI and CD, and it's not a task, it's a necessity. When you are a big team, it's a necessity. It's not a something called Scrum or whatever, it is a necessity. If you don't do that, which is the foundation stone of that, you're not going to achieve the end results, which is what we are talking here, the feature, which is evaluatable. Okay, so these teams, what they do is they actually have a common AR cadence, which helps a lot. But the master thing which comes in here is, when you have a larger context, you cannot achieve success until you have CI/CD. So I'm not advocating everyone says the same, but I'm saying it's necessity here. It's not a task, or it is not a gold polishing thing anymore. It's the necessity, it's not a task. The next thing is you need to have a single backlog. The larger context have Excels and tools like version 1, Rally, etc. And then they have Selenium, maybe they have Bugzilla, everything is there, right? And then they have a backlog there, and then they have a backlog there, and then they have a backlog here. and in emails as well, right? So they need to consolidate that, and that's the major challenge when it comes to the consolidation, because you need to first make a common list and then distribute it back, and it's a key challenge. When I'm talking about, like, again, a big project which is of 200 people, they have massive work getting produced every month, and what we are talking here is they need to write down it in one backlog. It's a challenge. They cannot until they have multiple people having the same vision of one backlog. So what happens is one expert or SME becomes the product owner of back-end operation, and he starts writing his user stories, and then the other one starts front-end maybe or whatever, and likewise it doesn't work that way. You need to adopt the best practices with large scale, which is one backlog concept, and then you need to split it into the smaller backlogs, not going backwards, which is the most happening thing. Most of the time what you see is you got a product owner here, you got a product owner there, and then they merged, and that's what is one backlog. It doesn't work that way. You need to come top to bottom in terms of information, and you need to go from bottom to top in terms of execution. When you execute a task, then you realize that task, and then you go backwards saying like, okay, we achieved this feature, and this is the money we can get now from the market. But when it comes from the requirement aspect or maybe information aspect, it comes from top to bottom. So you need to have an epic over there on top. Not necessarily you need to have a user story always, but you can execute that epic, maybe you can have a feature, but it comes from this dimension mostly. So do you have any question on this slide? No?
What is like this PI goal, or like, is it integration?
Oh yeah, so this is we just talked about. He very well narrated he created the foundation for my talk, okay? So he said, like, we don't have any idea the other team is doing what, right? And that's called PI goal, okay? So you need to actually collaborate at a higher level, which is the next practice which has been introduced in SAFe. If I say per se about SAFe, so we don't plan in silos, we plan as a big, and that's the advantage of SAFe. So SAFe has been popular because it addresses that PI planning thing, how to do that. So let's say you have like 100 people doing work, but they plan together, and that's next slide. So how they plan is ultimately they arrive at a lot of dependencies, which is the major challenge, okay? So if you see this slide, so they found out a lot of problem here and there, and then ultimately what they do is they connect the dot. So they say that, like, we got this feature going live by this date, and then they say that who all is working on that, and let's identify these dependencies upfront rather than while execution. And that's the massive thing. So you cannot do that detailed planning sometimes, and it's a key challenge. So there are two reasons, which is we talk about when we have this problem, when we cannot identify a lot of dependencies. One is when we are not technically competent, or second one is when we don't have the domain expertise. There are two challenges. So what we do is we go basis on the assumption here in the SAFe context specifically, I say, or in the larger context. But the exercise what we do is called PI planning, and then you arrive at a PI goal where the team 1 says that we have this problem, team 2 says that this is a problem statement. They collaborate together upfront, not after going into the execution mode, and that's a key challenge here again. So I'll give you some example. I'm working with a team in Delhi. Time up. Okay, time up. So I'll just take 2 minutes, maybe if that's okay. So the team is working in India and in Delhi and then in UK. They both have the challenge that the time zone itself is a problem, and which cannot be catered by SAFe as such. But what they do is they create a proper backlog. When they do that assessment of each requirement, they go forward and say that, okay, this feature have dependency here and there, and then only they commit to that. They say that, now we understand more. So someone was saying, like, maybe Guru was iterating, like, in place of investing time afterwards, you should invest backward when you are planning. So planning is the key here. You need to invest more time. He used the wrong word though. He said wasting. I differ here. I say that invest time in planning more than execution. Okay. So until you project that particular thought that how many dependencies are there, it becomes a big problem. You cannot go live frequently with big projects. That's why they get delayed. Okay. So do you have any questions in next 1 minute?
What does PI stand for? Full form?
PI stands for product increment. Nothing new. Yeah, so we integrated a product level in the large context, and we say that all the teams have done their work. Like what you did in this exercise, when you created this piece, and that whole piece was the product improvement. Okay, so you integrate it together, and the key here is the feedback stuff.
Similarly, what is ART,
Yeah, so something like that. Oh, that's a sequencing thing. So you need to sequence it in a way that you get the best out of it. So in SAFe there is a lot of techniques which they introduced. SAFe is like a la carte of best practices picked from here and there.
Lean and
Lean and product development specifically, Kanban, all those stuff. So they said like you should sequence the items properly first of all. Until you sequence them properly, team have a tendency to pick by their interest. So you always go by the prioritization, not by the interest. If some expert is there, he might delay it because there is no prioritization on that. It's not just like his interest is being catered. So we always go by prioritization, which is lean economic prioritization. So that's the technique here, okay? Any thoughts other than that? No?
Was this your last leg?
Okay, that's thank you.
Thank you, Priyank.
Thank you, sir. I'm here if you want to talk more about the subject.
Okay.
Priyank, I have a small typo correction.
Yeah.
My name is Nagesh, not Anil.
It happens with me. Sorry.